extraordinaire. Neil, I always love talking to you because you spell your first name correctly, N-E-I-L. If it was N-E-A-L, we wouldn't be talking right now. But, you know, Neil, help me with this. I mean, it's interesting in your wonderful country. Governments, you know, whether they're Labor or Tory, conservative or liberal, they generally hang around for about 10 to 15 years, and then they run out of life. And we're on the 14-year point for the Tories. How does that happen that way?
Well, actually, Neil, it's really kind of like bad luck, because when you think about it, when Boris Johnson won that massive majority, very quickly after that, sadly, the world went into the pandemic. And that really, the pandemic was the icing on the cake for everything sort of going down. What's interesting over here, listening to your report just then, is that, you know, everybody's saying, oh, Sir Keir Starmer. You know, remember the word Sir Keir Starmer, a very titled, privileged person moving in to number 10. Well, the bottom line is, people are not really that invested in him either. But it's like going to the supermarket and deciding which two of the loaves is going to last the longest, and you might buy the one that looks the freshest. You know, he's not the freshest, trust me, but there's not much choice. Now, a party that's doing very well in sort of changing things is the Reform Party, headed by, of course, Nigel Farage. But it's still a very young party. But it's interesting to see how that's moved, that's shifted, you know, the way that the kind of the interest of the British public has definitely moved. But Sir Keir Starmer wouldn't be our number one choice, trust me.
He just so happens to be the leader of that party and becomes a prime minister, you know, right away if it wins the election. But let me ask you about how the UK is bucking this otherwise pretty consistent trend where parties on the right are rising fast. Not in all places. In Mexico, the largely liberal government was reelected in a landslide. But those are the exceptions. Britain more the exception than the rule. What's going wrong for conservatives there?
You know, in a nutshell, Neil, it's simply this. British people are fed up with being sidelined. Everything is not for them. You know, you walk on the streets, there's army veterans who are homeless, yet illegal immigrants coming in, five-star deluxe hotels, meals, phones, everything provided. You can only take so much. And, you know, someone like yourself and like myself, we go around, we meet many different people. I think the British public have simply had enough of being treated like a second-class citizen. It is their country. They feel that somebody should be sticking up for them, and everybody really, and we've had this over the last few years, haven't we, the woke box, you know, everybody's sick to death of not a man or a woman, a trans, whatever. We just want to get back to normality, build business, build a great country again, and stop pandering to the people that are literally the minority. And I think that's what's really engulfed all major parties. I mean, we have a party leader over here, Ed Davey, that can't decide what a woman is, and neither can Sir Keir Starmer. So at least Rishi Sunak, our current British Prime Minister, wins a point there.
And well, they raise a good point. But, you know, I feel for the Brits and yourself, Neil. I mean, this has been a tumultuous year. Obviously, King Charles battling this illness, of course. The princess, she has her own troubles. You know, it's been a tough time for the royal family, a tough time for Brits to watch that. And, of course, this government upheaval. I mean, that's a lot to take in a year.
It is. I mean, we're very, you know, resolute, as you know, because, of course, you know, we've all, throughout our history, we've always fought back and, you know, won the battle, as it were. But I think a lot of people, I don't know if you agree on this, Neil, but people are so nervous to book what the actual public want to see. You know, over here, we find it quite amusing watching President Biden, and I don't mean that in a cruel way, but clearly you've got major problems there too. And the other side of it is nobody wants to say what everybody's really thinking, and what really people are thinking over here, and this is going to hit every single party that we've got coming up in this election tomorrow, is, you know, if you'd have listened to the electorate and said, you know, this is what British people want, then you would have done very well. I mean, we have a newspaper over here that's suddenly backed the least popular party, and yet, you know, the sales are down. Why? Why would you do that? Madness.
Very interesting. Just listen to the people. Neil, I could listen to you all day. Neil Sean, the UK political analyst. On top of that, they have had a lot to deal with there. Thank you, Neil.